I stayed home from work because I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling really unwell. So I rang my wife and I said to her, I'm not feeling well, something's not right. I'm going to go to the local, our local GP here at Brighton. He looked at me and he said, your lungs are in a very, very bad way. You need to go to the emergency department right now.
We took him to St George Emergency Department. I have to be honest, I didn't really expect them to see him straight away, even though the doctor had called ahead. There's always the concern that you have to wait. But I had dropped him off and looked for a parking spot because that's quite tough there. And by the time I had gotten back into the emergency department, he was already in with a nurse seeing him, which was, I thought, was fantastic.
To be honest, after that point, I have no recollection at all of what happened.
It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, look, I have to get the kids from school. I have no alternative. But I, had kissed Joe goodbye, told him I loved him, and I whispered in Dr. Alex's ear, can you please take care of him? Please take care of him.
All of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections.
I had told the girls on the way home from school that Dad was in hospital. He wasn't well. They'd known he wasn't well. And I sort of said to them, they sort of said, out of 10, how bad's Dad? I said, well, I think he's a 6 because he's in hospital. He's not feeling the best, but he's in the best place to be.
Of me.
Called the hospital up just to see what ward he was in so I could go in, being organised. And they asked me how far away I was from the hospital. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, he's in intensive care and he's in critical condition, so we suggest you get here as fast as you can. I felt like the earth had been ripped from my feet. I felt like I couldn't hold myself up. But I didn't tell the kids anything because I didn't know what to tell them.
I can't stop singing, it's ringing in my...
They allowed me to see Joe. Probably would have been about 11 o'clock that night before the cardiothoracic surgeons came around. They had clean shaven him, which I hadn't seen him for a long time. And he looked like quite a vulnerable child in that position. I hadn't spoken to him since I'd left the hospital about 2 o'clock that day. So seeing him like that was quite distressing. So the cardiothoracic surgeons came in, they did what they had to do. They buzzed us in the overnight room, and they said once the procedure had been completed that I could go in and see him.
Even when I lose, I'm winning.
Every time they would take Joe's bloods, every morning they would brush his teeth. He wasn't just a patient, he was Joe. And every time they touched him, they would say, Joe, we're brushing your teeth. Joe, we're doing this, we're turning you around. And that was really nice because I didn't want him to be treated like a normal person. He was my husband and he's special to me, and I wanted them to see the importance of him. And I think that's the difference with these awesome nurses and doctors, is that he's a human being. He's not just another patient.
Love your curves and all your edges.
The next day when I'd come in, he was in the intensive care, but in a normal bed as opposed to the quarantine room. And he was just opened his eyes, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I knew it would happen. I had faith and I had belief that everything everybody was doing was going to work, but to actually have that realization of him opening his eyes up, I think that's when I sort of broke down and I cried, and my mum said, no, you don't cry, you need to be strong, he's happy, you need to be happy.
I give you all.
In the car I was crossing my fingers that he was at home, and then when I came home he was at home in bed. And I wanted to do my homework in bed with him so I could spend some time with him. And yeah.
Was that nice having him back?
Yeah.
And you tell him that the first day I came back, you were too scared to give me a hug. I had lost a lot of weight. I think I'd lost about 13 kilos in 11 days. So I was about 56 kilos when I came home. And I'll never forget when I came home and I tried to look strong for the girls and everything else. Alyssa just took it in a very positive way, that I was back home and things would be okay again. Bianca, I think, keeps things inside a lot. Talia was just too afraid to even give me a hug, because she thought she might hurt me. But she gave me more determination to get strong and get better again.
But we have learnt to appreciate life differently and a lot more. You know, we don't care about the new lounge or the new car or the things that we have. What's important is that we have memories together, and you know, we've taken time out to have trips and spend some time away together and try and spend more time together, because life's precious and it's way too short. Appreciate everything you do on a day-to-day basis. We support you in your fight for a new facility. We absolutely believe that we need it, and we wish that, you know, one day we could repay you. We hope that you acknowledge our thanks as sincere that it is.
And we also know that you don't do this for money. You don't do this for any other reason. This is in your blood, and this is a result of your care, your belief, and your understanding. This is where I am, this is the happiness that you're seeing, and this is a good story. And you know, we want to support the hospital because there's lots of other good stories out there for people to have, and they need the facilities, and they need the money, and they need the state-of-the-art equipment and medicines to make people better.
Thank you, St. George! I'm being squished in so many ways right now. Ow.